The young male lion, emaciated and covered in wounds, was chased away from his traditional hunting grounds by his pride. It wandered through the edge of Grit Valley, between the scorching sun and dry grass. With nowhere else to go, his stomach growling, he smelled fish from a small lake hidden in the valley. It crept toward the shore, its paws sinking deep into the unstable mud. The weak body was not strong enough to maintain balance. It was quickly swallowed up to the stomach by the mud. It struggled, but every movement only caused it to sink deeper into the slushy soil. Eyes panicked, mouth gasping, it let out a groan that echoed through the barren forest. Mud stuck to its mane, weighing down its bony neck, making it unable to hold its head up. 6 hours passed. The lion lay motionless, only weak breathing and desperate eyes. The sun began to set behind the dry trees, darkness gradually covering the lake. No longer having the strength to cry out, it just blinked as the dark clouds drifted across the opaque sky. A water bird landed nearby, looked at it, and flew away, leaving behind a farewell. Whine, sand stuck to its muzzle, its back hunched with cold and hunger. It lay still, waiting for something to happen. It stopped struggling, just hoping for a miracle to take it out of this cold mud. As it was about to die, the distant sound of oars rang out like a bell, calling back hope for life. Henry Whitmore, a retired old ranger, has lived alone in the Grip Valley forest for the past 12 years. That morning, he left the old wooden house, rowed his boat out to the lake to fish. Like every dawn with a small camera attached to his hat, he intended to capture peaceful moments on the river. As he was casting his line in the middle of a calm lake, he heard a strange groaning sound coming from afar. It was not a bird or a deer, but the ragged breathing of something dying. Henry stopped rowing and listened again, his heart beginning to feel uneasy. He quickly turned the boat around, aiming the oars toward the reed bank, about 100 meters away. As he approached, he parted the reeds and froze his eyes, unable to believe what appeared before him. A young lion covered in mud lay exhausted, only his eyes still moving. Henry stood silently for a few seconds, his heart filled with sorrow at the sight he had never seen in his life. Without hesitation, he climbed up the mud bank, wading down slowly, as if entering a sacred area. The lion did not react. It knew this man did not carry danger, but the last hope, Henry sat down beside it, placing his hand on its dirty mane, feeling its breathing grow weaker, like a clock about to stop. "All right, kid," he whispered, "I'll get you home. You have to live with the arm that had saved many wild animals." Henry began the arduous rescue. In the deep mud, Henry wrapped the rope around the lion's belly, then slowly pulled it up with all his remaining strength. Mud dragged its body, but its eyes still looked at him, a gaze no longer panicked. After 3 failed attempts and 1 fall, Henry finally managed to pull half of it on the boat. He placed his hand under its muzzle, lifting it gently, as if lifting a feverish child. The small boat rocked gently as the lion lay still, panting, mud dripping down and wetting the wooden floor. Henry sat beside it, his hands holding the rope tightly, his eyes never leaving the animal lying at his feet. The afternoon wind blew through the reed forest. The boat turned and quietly left the lake, taking with it its fragile life. Every time he rowed, his heart pounded, afraid that the animal behind him would stop breathing at any moment. The sun had set behind the trees. The only light on the way home was from the lights on the bow of the boat as the cabin appeared in the distance. Henry breathed a sigh of relief, as if he had just saved himself. He tied the boat, then used a plank as a slide to bring the lion down to the backyard. The lion did not move, but its eyes blinked slightly enough to tell him that it still had hope of survival. "I don't know where you come from," he said softly, "but this is your home from now on." He took an old blanket and covered the lion's shivering body before entering the house. The night sky began to rain, but Henry knew this life was not over. Henry took the hose, adjusted the flow gently, and sprayed the back of the lion lying motionless on the lawn. The mud melted, running down the grass, revealing dark skin, ribs visible under the tangled fur. The lion opened his eyes and looked at him, no longer frightened, only tired and quietly trusting. "It's okay, kid," he whispered, rubbing mud from the lion's mane. After half an hour of bathing, the lion's body was cleaner, giving off the smell of earth mixed with the smell of raw skin. Henry took a large towel and wiped his body. Each stroke seemed to heal invisible wounds. When the lion was dry, he went into the kitchen and got a piece of raw meat he had saved from the day before. He approached, placed the piece of meat on the small wooden table, and sat, waiting to see the animal's reaction. The lion smelled the scent, struggled to stand up, staggered closer to the piece of meat, then bowed his head to eat. Henry chuckled softly, his eyes welling with emotion. He still had life in him. Hunger made him eat slowly, but he didn't take his eyes off the man sitting opposite him. The sense of trust between man and wild animal is like a silent thread connecting through the eyes. Henry put his hands on his knees, watched him finish eating, and then lay down, breathing more evenly. He stood up, pulled his phone from his pocket, and called the Koo Wildlife Reserve to report an emergency. "I found a lion cub, very weak. Send someone. It needs care." 2 hours later, a pickup truck from the Koo Wildlife Reserve pulled up in front of Henry's cabin. A young ranger named got out of the car, looked around, and nodded to the older man. "Are you the one who called this morning?" asked, his eyes on the resting lion. "Yes, it was stuck in the swamp for 6 hours. I pulled it out in a boat, approached, knelt down to check the lion's breathing injuries and reactions." "You did well," he said. If it had been a few hours later, he wouldn't have made it. Together, they put the lion in a lightweight iron cage which was placed on the back of a pickup truck. The animal did not resist, just turned its head to look at Henry, its eyes sparkling as if to say thank you. Henry stepped forward, put his hand through the bars of the cage and stroked its forehead. "One last time, goodbye, kid, I did my part. Now it's someone else's turn to take care of you." Closed the cage door, checked the lock, then signaled the driver to start the engine and return to the reserve. Henry stood in the middle of the yard watching the car move away, in the middle of the sunset dying, the sky red. He felt no regrets, only a lighter heart after many years of living alone. For the first time in 12 years, he felt as if he had been reborn with another soul. And somewhere in the Grief Forest, the wind began to blow like the sigh of the fairy forest. The lion was taken to the semi-wild enclosure of the Koo Wildlife Reserve under special care. Veterinarians confirmed that it was about 3 years old, emaciated from malnutrition and severe mental shock. A month later, it was healthy again, running around in the semi-natural forest as if it had never been hopeless. Named it Hope because of the first look it gave Mr. Henry, and from then on, Henry was no longer alone in his heart. There was always a roar echoing from his memories. Dear friend, thank you for taking the time to follow the story. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to support us.